Here, I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Night. With me today, I've got Staffan, and we're going to be talking about his book, Business Model Innovation, How It Really Works. Really enjoyed the book, Staffan. It was a really good read. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Where can people find you?
The easiest way is to LinkedIn, Dr. Staffan Heden. There you find my website as well in the small company called Cecia, Ceceai. So that's the best way to find me. And you can go in there and read posts. On the post, you will also find me.
And you're currently in your summer house, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in my summer house in one of the islands, beautiful islands in Sweden called Öland, on the south part. Very nice.
So tell us about your book. Tell us about what the inspiration for your book was.
So I've done this for a very long time, working with business model innovation. I started more or less 4 decades. The last 3 decades in my own company, I started to work with a technical professor. He took me through technical descriptions, and after 5 years, I found myself doing business model innovations, really. The 10 years before that was also, nowadays I'm saying to everyone, I'm a researcher. So the whole idea about the book came from, I did a doctorate quite late. I started doing my doctorate at 57.
Okay.
So that's quite late.
And you did that at Warwick University, didn't you?
Yeah, I did that at Warwick University. And the book is really a combination of, everything coming out from a doctorate. It's and the whole idea with the doctorate was to find the factors to conduct a successful business model innovation process. So it came out very well, and I think if I see in the future, BMI will be super important over the next 15 to 25 years. Sustainability, global connections, climate change. So my whole idea was to make company work better, and also the question of to adapt data, because data is so different. If I compare myself, I worked in 2 global companies in my start. We did everything manually. So I'm actually trained manually. I've done so many qualitative studies, over hundreds, 200s or more than that, by manual. And the question is, how will this evolve in different roles? So my whole idea here was to explain this and give a picture also of the technology development. And I think I'm happy with the book. It came out very close to the toolkit from my doctorate as well.
So your doctorate was based on data, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
This book is based on data as well,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So
this isn't Staffan's opinion.
Yeah.
It's actually data and your experience that you're putting into the book.
Yeah, it's very much a data book. I mean, the doctorate was, if I take you through that very short briefly, was a multiple case study, 6 cases, quite big companies. And it made out a model, and from the model I tested that in an intervention, quite dramatically intervention. It was actually the best case that I've done. So took 3 years from the start to the end, grow nearly twice. But the interesting thing was the profit development. And it went from 9% up to over 30%. We did numbers of things. The data was then also tested in upfollowing seminars. So it's really, and the book is an extension of this model. So coming from, these 7 big companies. So I was asked that at my doctorate as well, how many companies have you worked for, and those are not questions that I brought to the table over the last 3 decades. So, but the book is based on 28 customers, 52 clients, 52 companies. So,
because you mentioned as you go through the book, you mention each of the different case studies, don't you? In italics.
Yes. Not really. Yes, yes, I do. There are numbers of them. It's actually 90 different views in the book. So that took me quite a while to write, of course.
So in effect, what you've done with the book is you've taken the data and you've created a framework for a business model.
For a business model innovation case. So that's important to say. It's not really a business model book in that sense, because we use, so my company work, just give you an overview, we work in 5 steps now. We worked in 10 steps in the beginning, but nowadays we work in 5 steps because of what. So the first step that we do, we create business meetings, couple of business meetings, set up the propose, very clear, make a clear line. If that's a case, it's not always a case. So we can say yes or no. Then we go through the existing business model, and then we use the business model. I mean, business model canvas, more or less. Osterwalder's it's a very good view of business model. So, and from that, going deep, and deep means finding alternative ways. And I'm always saying, the book is saying that in very many pages, find your bottlenecks before you start to do things, because that will save you cost and money and time. And normally, I mean, maybe the owner doesn't know, but the board will know, and managing C-suites they definitely should know. They don't know always, but I've been in so many cases where we saved so much money doing the quick fixes in the start, because if it doesn't work, you know it. The 4th step, when we have done deep studies, normally done by qualitative studies or quant, it's brainstorm activities, and it's explained in the book as well. We do have a series of it's not actually in the book, but we do have we control things, environmental things, branch, and the companies, and it come out more or less the same every time. 30 projects, down to 10, down to 5. So we name them, and after that we can create a business model innovation plan. So and that's what I'm always saying, that I'm double-sided. I don't know why I was born like this, but I'm very, overthinking in one way. So the first step, thinking, planning, that works for me very well. And then that's the first 6 months, more or less, in the case. And then coming from the case over to action and implementation, that's my action. So I'm very much an action person. I drop your question. I'll get overexcited.
You come up with this. You come up with this framework.
Yeah.
Now, this bit is going to sound complicated, but it's not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this for the audience.
Yeah.
So and in the book, and it's all detailed in the book, that you've basically for business model innovation, you've come up with and have the data for 30 concepts as a guide, and each concept has 5 insights.
Yes. Yes.
And as you talk, I'm going to try and find a diagram.
Yeah.
Keep talking, Staffan.
Now, it's important to say that what we do is that, so that's no, that's not the diagram for. That's the diagram. It's it's actually before the page before. Yeah, that's the diagram on. So it's very hard to see, I guess. So I said that to very many people that
Yeah.
this framework is based on 6 themes.
Yeah.
So, and every theme has 5 concepts.
Yep.
It's actually success factors. So
Yep.
you can use them as a mirror in the start,
Yep.
the whole way through, and even when you come up with an implementation. So it just came out this way. I mean, the 6 themes are strategy, a system business model,
Yep.
customer orientation, management, organizational structure, and resources. And
Yep.
that's really, it's very easy to work. I see the book as, I mean, 30 concepts. You can deep dive in these concepts and learn a lot.
Yes. Yeah, and then if we take strategy, for example, what you've got in terms of the factors is before, anchoring, simplified, load bearing, and living.
Yeah.
But it for me it makes it's common sense for me in terms of understanding the concepts across the top, and then the factors that you have down, detailing those different concepts. I'm trying to make sure I'm using your right terminology.
Yeah, and all of the concepts in the book are explained quite deep in a sense, but also combined with overall writing. So, and the first concept that you mentioned here before, it's really taking you to the place where you can gain a lot. It doesn't mean that you need to do all the strategies, because strategy is really, I mean, strategy, operational, and tactics. But this is strategy overall. And if you have an existing business model, it's normally works better if it's aligned with strategies. That's what all the book says, and I've been in the books for the last 6 years, reading all about this. So I can agree upon that.
So take us through. Just give us an example. Let's just walk through strategy as your concept, and your first factor is before. So and we're just going to work through that. So we've got in 8 minutes. Let's work through the strategy concept. So talk to us about the before part of the strategy.
So the before part, it's really a question of finding, go through, make a strategy, clarify the role for implementation, understand all the behaviors, make inventory of the existing strategies, and understand the personal issues, because personal issues is quite dramatically today when everything comes so close. So it could be hybrid, it could be everyone working in the office, and especially if you work with international companies, you're working throughout in different countries.
I mean, we were talking before we came on air about how different cultures have different views on certain things.
Yeah.
And absolutely, a company based in Sweden, the Netherlands, and the UK and Germany, each of those countries have different aspects and different views on how things should work.
Yeah. So before, it's really the question that we do when we go through the existing business model. So it doesn't mean that we need to go through all the strategies and change them. Anchoring is make sure that we have a common understanding, that we can refine and do an evaluation and plan for future strategies. Because major changes, we can see that quite quick. That requires other strategies. So, and we do have one example here as a total new concept, which we call living strategies. And living strategies is coming very close to the person in itself. So we use good examples. And larger projects, which captures very, very much more attention, highlights, and that's really a combination of reinforcing a company it should describe daily activities. And we have done numbers of projects where we have used television. We have put them out in the department and then waved the message like this, and combined with ambassadors, which is also in the book. I explain later on from the management. We have a concept here we call 3-step management. So, and it's also very helpful between generation. The company today, it's really understanding of data, and not all people, maybe you and I have a pre-understanding of data because we work with data more or less, but I've met so many people doesn't have a clue of data. So it's really a question of, and also diverse companies could be very nice. Simplifying is also very important in my view. So what we train the group to make short and clear logical strategies, so that could not be misunderstood. It should be possible to communicate. So communication is really a key point here. I heard, I think it was from an earlier conversation that you had, that Peter Drucker said, culture eat strategy for breakfast.
Strategy for breakfast, yeah.
Yeah. And I could take it even further. I could say culture doesn't serve breakfast. So it's really, it's really important to have this conversation from the communication side. So we work with good beginnings and clear ends. So we make sure that everyone's understand. And I'm using an example which I found very long time ago. There are two people sitting beside, and one said to another, "I have a dog." And then you see a dog moving out on the other person's head, and then he said, a big dog. And then I'm answering, "No, a short dog, a small dog." So it went this back and forth 7 times, and then they have been through, is it 100 typical dogs that they knew? It's very understand. It should be responsible, measurable, and completed. That's what we try to work with when we work with strategies. Load bearing is also another concept which I'm talking about in the book. It's much more value, and it makes it stronger if it has a value. Value creation is very hard, especially if you work across. And it's today, it should also be empathic. Caring, leading, and community targets, images works very well. But I talked to you about this before. I also created a variable for speed, where I'm saying that, it's not only strategies doesn't work by itself. It needs more. It needs humans, but it also needs variables. So we go through that as well when we do this 5 concept. I see the book. I said that earlier. We had an earlier conversation. I see the book as a concept book in that sense. It's not. You can learn a lot. I think more or less every leader should read a book like this, because it's validated by data, and it's a new thing. I want to finalize the 5 concept with saying, because I'm writing about that as well. In the beginning of 80s, a big company of about 15,000 people had about 500 support staff people. Today, the same company have at the most 100. So it's really down to an understanding of data in the hierarchy, so to speak. And it's not sure that owners understand data, but C-suites must definitely understand data. And so the tricky thing for them is that the decision-making structure is completely different. So before they could go inside and speak to one another, they had persons there and numbers of people in different roles, and now they are more or less, having the data to look into. Yeah. Did we make it in 8 minutes?
You did it in 8 minutes. Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, Staffan, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your book, Business Model Information, how it really works. If I wanted to buy a copy, where can I go?
You can buy it on all platforms on the internet. Google
It's
and
on
name
Amazon, isn't it?
Amazon, and it's 3 versions. It's hardback, paperback, and electronic.
Just in case people go and buy the hardback, the hardback has a different cover to this, doesn't it?
It's a different cover, and it's a little bit more expensive, I would say.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm frequently giving away options on my LinkedIn page, and it's going to the publishing house, Routledge. So there is one as well, but it's I think we counted the platforms. It was over 100.
Okay, and if we want to get more information from you, where can we find you?
Well, the best thing is my LinkedIn page, Dr. Staffan Heden, and or through my website, and I'm always coming back. I promise that.
Okay, thank you so much for today, and thank you for